Phil, you recently wrote a really nice piece on your blog, I believe, talking about that there's still some confusion out there about what brand purpose is versus brand positioning. Why is that still an issue, and how do you define the two terms? What's your recommendation, or how do you distinguish the two?
Yeah, thanks for referencing that. Yeah, honestly, that blog was triggered by and I know he's controversial, he does this, but our friend Professor Byron Sharp, right, who's always got a thing or two to say about branding and marketing. But he said that marketers are afflicted by a lack of self-confidence and pride. All right. Pretty general statement. And one of the main symptoms to have arisen from this is the idea brand should have a higher societal purpose beyond profit. Well, you can imagine what my reaction to that was, basically, kind of given what we stand for and the clients that we work with. Um, but I think fundamentally, I think what he was probably driving at was, even in that construct, he was himself confusing the notion of brand purpose and brand positioning. Because what I think he was driving at is obviously kind of brand position there as a commercial vehicle, a relative commercial vehicle, to enable you to find a unique differentiated position in the marketplace to drive value, right? To commercialize your brand. And as we already know from brand purpose, it's a balance between the two. It's about profit, but it's also about purpose. It's also kind of making a social impact. So the way that I kind of in my head think about it is that, brand positioning, if you like, is relative. If you think the purpose, if you like, of positioning is to add value, create meaning for your product in a way that differentiates it from the competition. But the motivation behind that is purely commercial, right?
Mhm.
And it's based on, if you like, accepted consumer beliefs. Because without those accepted consumer beliefs and understanding your consumer and how you position yourself within that space, then you can't position yourself, and you can't be meaningful. You can't create a value proposition. So positioning is about value add. It's based on accepted consumer beliefs, and it's about the ultimate objective is about commercial return. Purpose, on the other hand, is almost the opposite end of the spectrum. I would say that a brand purpose, on the other hand, is actually existential, and it's absolute. It's really about, why do we exist? What's our reason for being? And actually, it's really based on the implicit beliefs of the stakeholders behind it. So one of the challenges and one of the things we often see is brands, as they're trying to maybe define their purpose, they'll reach out and they'll pull in perhaps more of the consumer angle or the consumer mindset than they actually need to, without realizing actually the purpose is, it really goes to the core of who you are and why you even operate in the first place. So although the consumer point of view and understanding the market is a lens, it's not the basis on which to build your brand purpose. And some of the brand purposes that I've seen, which are the weakest, you can tell have been written by a bunch of marketeers who've applied a brand positioning model to try and get to a brand purpose, and it completely missed the point.